Hey folks, my name is James Schmidt. I'm also a local organizer. I just want to give a little bit of historical context on this type of mass popular democratic movement and some of the historical antecedents. To me, I see a direct line. Some of y'all from different points of view may not see a direct line the way I do, but the bit about ending the Fed, for example, that's news to me. Everything I heard before Occupy Wall Street and everything I've been paying attention to since then, that's not a focus of it. It's really about fighting back from the bottom up against corporate power and against multinational corporate power. Okay? So what's the history? I want to go back, you can go back as far as possible, but I want to go back to January 1st, 1994, when the Zapatista Army of National Liberation rose up in southern Mexico on the exact moment when NAFTA was passed. And a massive wave in the 10 years after that of so-called illegal immigration happened. Why did that happen? Because the terms of NAFTA, it's not free trade. Hell no, it's not even free trade according to free market ideology. It's corporate power in our government. Okay, that whole thing, those free trade agreements are written by the lobbyists and by the corporations themselves in their favor. Okay? So after that, after the Zapatistas rose up and gave a global call out for solidarity, they said, don't come to our aid, do what we're doing in your community in the way that you can to fight back against the same corporate power. The sort of wonky term is neoliberalism, and it's not about liberalism as a political ideology. It's about so-called economic liberalism, or taking down the democratically elected government structures that are put in place to protect things like the environment, workers' rights, etc., in sovereign nations. Okay, understand this. As working class people, we're at the point now where we have no country in a sense because these multinational corporations that want to run the world through unelected cliques of bureaucrats like the World Trade Organization, the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, the General Agreement on Trades and Tariffs, etc. That's their government, okay? And they don't give a shit about nations. They don't give a shit about the United States of America, just like they don't give a shit about Nigeria when they're extracting oil in the Niger Delta and polluting the fuck out of it so it's destroyed for the umpteenth generation looking forward, okay? So this is about a fight back from the bottom up against global corporate power, okay? Next in the lineage, you have organizations that sprung up all over the planet like Via Campesino, the Peasant's Way, a peasant organization for landless farmer folks all over the world, started and initiated from Latin America, but making contact with the peasants of India, etc. Then next you got People's Global Action and groups like that. So fast forward, it came into the first world, into the developed nations, the so-called first world, in the late 90s and early 2000s with what is improperly termed, in my opinion, the anti-globalization movement. Okay, really what it's about is the anti-corporate power movement. It's the anti-corporate globalization movement. We're for globalization. We're for our brothers and sisters in other countries, for equitable trade, etc. You know, that's fine. But what they want to do is extract labor out of us for the lowest amount. It's a race to the bottom. They want to extract resources without giving back. Coca-Cola stealing water from villages in India, etc. Okay, it came to to Europe and the United States in the late 90s and early 2000s. Remember the so-called summit hopping demonstrations? There were massive uprisings like this, okay, all over the planet, wherever the World Bank and IMF went to meet, wherever the WTO met. Seattle, 1999. Who remembers the battle in Seattle? Okay, what we're doing right here is in a direct line, in my opinion, from my point of view, with all of that. It's the revival of this mass movement against multinational global corporate capitalism, or what my friend Pete over here called casino capitalism, okay? And what Occupy Wall Street is specifically about is the casino capitalism end of it. It's international finance, okay? It's these banks and these financial corporations that ripped us off, that caused this very economic collapse that we're all struggling through, and that ripped us off, raided the public treasury, and paid themselves a fat reward for their absolute ineptitude, inefficiency, lies, and scams. That's disaster capitalism. Good phrase. So that's what this movement is about. That's the history that I see, that I've been part of since the late 90s, okay? Gone out in the street with brothers and sisters, some of whom I see in this crowd, and risked our lives in Miami against the free trade area of the Americas ministerial meetings in 2003, okay? And believe me, if we get well organized and we're effective, there'll be some pushback from the state, right? We're going to get harassed by the police, etc., like somebody said. The FBI building's right over here, you know? And we're already infiltrated, believe it. The agents of the state are here. So whenever we have small meetings, we need to say to each other, all right, if anybody here is an infiltrator, a paid informant, or an agent, you're not welcome here. We know you're here, etc. But our safety is in being public, is in having open meetings, is in being out in the streets like this. That's our only security. You know, they've got armies of people that are paid millions of dollars to monitor us, to dissect our movement, to disrupt, to provoke us, like people have said, into violence so they can attack us violently, etc. So I just want to say that there's a historical context, and I beg those of you that are not familiar with it to do your research and find out. It's not just about Occupy Gainesville, Occupy Wall Street, Occupy Portland, Occupy Austin. This is a global movement, and we are standing with brothers and sisters all over the planet. Educate yourself!
Much of everyone's time. My name's Dave Schneider. I'm a student activist at University of Florida. I've been doing some labor activism in the community. And I had an observation today, just standing right out here at City Hall. A couple things become really clear is that 1% that we're talking about, they're definitely up in Wall Street, and they're definitely up in Tallahassee when they attack unions and working people and working families and students. But I'll tell you something, they're also right in there, right in that building. They're in City Hall too. They are the city commissioners that filed a lawsuit against the retirees of the city workers right here in Gainesville because they wanted their pensions that they worked hard for. Those city commissioners, the people who put them in office, the big moneyed interests here, it's not just up in Wall Street, it's not just up in Tallahassee, it's right here in our community. But you know, the other part, that 99% isn't just up in Wall Street either, it's also here in this community, which puts it on us more than any other people. We got to start change right here, right now. And I think that this movement is huge. This movement that we've started up is enormous. We hung a banner back in March on City Hall declaring that Gainesville was a labor sanctuary. You could come here, that you could get a good job, you could raise a family, and you could probably get by. But you know what? Those people, Rick Scott, the people up in Tallahassee, and the people in Wall Street, they don't want us to do that. They prefer for no one to go to school, which is why they're trying to hike our tuition, my tuition, and graduate assistance tuition. Why they're trying to do that. They want to create a permanent underclass of people who can't do anything. And I think that's ridiculous. And I think everyone thinks that's ridiculous. Everyone who's in that 99% getting ready to fight back. So what we honestly need to do, at some point we're going to need to break into these committees and start taking some serious action. Because we got a long road ahead of us here. But I think together, if we bring more people into the movement, if we make strong bonds with the labor movement that we have in town, and if we build solidarity with the students on campus who are just as under attack from the 1% as the rest of us, we are going to have a revolution that all of us in the United States can get behind, and we're going to democratize this country in a way that every single person has a say and has ownership of this country.
So far, I think we need to educate ourselves, we need to watch out for infiltrators, we need to stand here and stay strong and keep doing it until we get what we want. Don't quit just because the TV quits showing this crap on TV. You know, don't listen to everybody else's opinion. Come up with your own, have a discussion. But I went online, I looked up what is the 99%. Does anybody else look that up? You need to educate yourself. The 99% is stating that they're taking money out of our dollars. You've looked it up. What I found is in 1970, corporate CEOs, their bonuses and everything was about $25 to every dollar earned by the average worker. Today it is about $500 to every dollar. That is our tax-paying dollars. That is our money. That is our child's future. That is everything that we're working for in this country. We need to stay strong until that changes.